All right, thank you for staying with us. Three of the 48 ministerial nominees sent to the Senate for screening and confirmation are yet to get full clearance, unlike 45 of their other counterparts. The nominees, who are former Governor of Kaduna State Nasir Elrufai, Stella Okotete from Delta State, and Abubakar Sani Danladi from Taraba State, during their screening sessions, were grilled by senators for various reasons, and generated so much interest and attention while it lasted. Joining us in the studio is Olajane Diario, a public affairs analyst, to talk more on this development. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
My name wasn't on our list. Supposed to be there now.
Well, there's still hope.
There's still hope. All right. This person's former Governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai, Stella Okotete of Delta State, Abubakar Danladi from Taraba State, was said to not have crossed the hurdle for now because of security clearance. And some Nigerians are wondering, okay, because some of the issues mentioned are said to be extant Supreme Court judgment, barring Danladi from holding office, public offices, and then for former Governor of Kaduna State and Okotete, we have petitions pending against them.
Yeah.
So how does this constitute a security matter?
Well, I would have expected that the president will have taken them through some security clearance before pushing their name forward. That would have saved every one of us from this headache. It's a mild headache, but I was expecting that they will all go, they will be sworn in, then action can start. But now, with these three, it will make the whole cabinet look incomplete. But the question is this: who do we blame for forwarding names of people who have issues against them? I won't say the president, because he works with people. He has lieutenants who will have helped him in compiling the names. They should have done the basics. You understand me? Unfortunately, it goes to show that the Senate is doing a good job with screening. Because the way it was going, take a bow and go, it turned like a tea party, and we're beginning to think that we have a pliable National Assembly or Senate. But when this came up, and then of course for those of them who were grilled or who were made to pay for their previous sins, like Keyamu, then you could see some element of seriousness in the screening. Either now or later, they may, but the one having judgment of the Supreme Court, I doubt if, because that's the Supreme Court is not supreme because it's always right, but it's always right because it is supreme. It's incontestable. If they ban me from coming here, send me 1 million letters, I won't turn up.
Right.
So for him, it's a settled matter. The best thing he would do is to bring up somebody from that constituency to represent the people. As for El-Rufai and the other woman, perhaps they may get cleared at the end of the day if they offer the right explanations. There may be reasons why, okay? But then we cannot conclusively say that they're not coming back for now, okay? Then I also must comment because when I saw the list, I was afraid that, like the last time we had such a list, about 3 people were dead whose names were included in that list. So, so for me, it's still a better job than what we had before.
Okay, in terms of the conduct of the Senate,
on the list of nominees.
No, a compilation of the names and the conduct too.
Right, before we even get to their general conduct of all the nominees, of screening all the nominees, still on this petition raised against El-Rufai, the question has been asked before, but let's ask you about, the governor's role, the former governor's, role as, while steering the ship in Kaduna State, and that appears to be what the petition against him is about, talking about cohesiveness, of unity, of peace, especially with the crisis in southern Kaduna. If looking back, you know, what do you make of this petition, and perhaps what people may want to use against him that may cost him this opportunity to serve?
All right. I'll take your mind back to when El-Rufai sent us pictures of him settling bandits, paying them money. And everybody was like, you don't have to do this because you are empowering them. When you give them money, they have resources to now buy more arms and become more vicious. But he insisted that was the best he could do at that time. Of course, later came out to be a very wrong and incorrect move. That worked against him. There was a video where he spoke in Hausa and was insisting that only Muslims will ever be governor in Kaduna State. Kaduna State has both Muslims, Christians, and even those who don't worship anything. So why do they have to be excluded on the basis of religion? And we keep saying that Nigeria is a secular state. And besides, the Constitution guarantees the right of every one of us to pick whatever religion catches their fancy. And for somebody who has been a DG of a federal agency, who has been a federal minister and governor, you don't expect such divisive statements. Okay? So that for me is a very strong point against him. How he will wriggle out, I don't know. In his shoes, if I had made such a statement, so immediately people started complaining. I will come out, either explain myself and apologize, okay, or explain myself and keep quiet. But he didn't do anything about it, meaning what he said was deliberate. And no, we are trying to heal. The country has been terribly wounded. You don't now want anything that will further create schism between people, either in small communities or in larger ones. Kaduna had not known peace in a long time.
But do you get a sense that perhaps that was an opportunity for him to also reply that petition before the intervention by Akpabio?
In all of these things, time is of essence. You made a mistake, or maybe you didn't know it was a mistake, and people said you made a mistake. Why not own up, be humble enough, take the humble pie, come out and say, I didn't mean it in that sense, and try to explain yourself away, and not wait till it now becomes an albatross on your neck. You understand
Perhaps
me?
he didn't know it would become an albatross.
It is, because it's one of the things they laid against him, that his conduct will not guarantee cohesion. We're trying to rebuild the country at every level, both local, state, and federal. And no one who will now present himself as a religious bigot should be welcomed. A federal minister is a very powerful office. Don't forget that. He represents the president anywhere he goes. So he must have a conduct that will welcome both the Muslims, the Christians, and animists. It's important because everything he will be doing will impact on the lives of everybody without regard to religion. Yeah, so he allowed time to have gone. He shouldn't have waited till a time like this. Except if, well, he probably felt he wasn't going to be made a minister. But from what he said elsewhere, I knew he had the ambition. Because, I mean, in his shoes, if I make a public statement and then there was an outcry against me, I will not let it rest.
Perhaps because of this matter of we not being able to hold persons who hold public office to account.
Accountable, yeah. You know, we always agree that we run a no-consequence society. People do things with impunity. They say things that shouldn't have been said, and nothing happens to them. But now, maybe now, we've started that journey. Keyamo was called to be at the Senate to defend some issues.
Yeah.
Didn't go. They took him on. He had to now be explaining himself, particularly concerning the money supposed to have been shared, among some poor people. He had to now begin to explain himself. If there was no chance for the Senate to screen him again, that would have gone. We wouldn't have known the truth. Or perhaps we wouldn't have even had an idea of what happened. So we should begin to call public officers, either elected or appointed, to question Why? Because they are managing our resources and they are managing our lives. So if they think they can do anything and get away with it, then we're in trouble. They must be checkmated. The fact that, oh, if I fumble, I'll get punished. Or if I fumble, I go for it. We had a minister here, the last regime, during COVID, when children were home with their parents. My daughter was in a federal common school. She was home with me. And we saw the news where she said she fed school children with so many billions of naira. Nothing happened to it. She should be called to question. These are things that people see and they behave like, it's Nigeria, I'm connected, I can say anything, I can do anything, and nothing will happen. It's time something starts to happen.
All right. And so back to the earlier point about, you know, where you think this would go or where you think this is going, because some say it could just be, you know, random, nothing may come out of it. But what are the things that you would like to see, you know, from this exceptions, you know, to the others who were successfully screened?
Sincerely, if I have my way, some of the people you have on that list, they will not smell the National Assembly. Why? We've had the problem of recycling of people into offices. There's one there who was a council chairman for 4 years. He became a minister. The same person became a governor for 8 years. Now he's becoming a minister. He might be there for maybe 4 or 8 years. Are we saying that out of the remaining crowd in Nigeria, the over 190 million people, we have no new blood to inject into governance, especially at the federal level, considering the fact that we are having, we're in a critical moment in the history of this country now. And these are the things, everywhere you look, that's what you see. I'm not saying that if you are a performer, Fashola was here in Lagos as governor. When they made him minister, it was celebrated. And at the point that he was overburdened, the ministries were taken away, and he was going to face one that it will be able to deliver value to people. So it's not just going to take office. At the end of the day, how will the Nigerian people, the taxpayers, benefit from your occupying any office for that matter? We're talking of ministerial office now. It's a national office. Anywhere you step into, you are representing the president. So everything has to be right. So as far as I'm concerned, that is still an issue. Transparency also has to be brought in. We cannot continue to run government of opacity. If you have found one thing, you are out of the circle. If you have found one thing or incapable on any level of or whatever, or you make a statement that will not promote public peace, take a leave. Go and do something with your life. You don't have to be a minister anyway. Those of us who have never occupied political offices, maybe by choice, but nothing should exclude others who have the capacity and the competence to be there.
So are you saying that the list does not reflect hope that Nigerians have been looking forward to from this government? Is that what you're saying?
For most people, it's out there in the public space. They were expecting technocrats, people who have been tried and tested in different fields of human
But we hear that some technocrats are now politicians.
No, I'm not saying no. We still have a large pool to draw from. Why aren't we exploiting that pool? Why are we not exploiting that pool? That's the big question now. Why are we limited to the same crowd of ex-governors, ex-this and ex-that? You could see that the young man that was brought in from Ogun State, if I'm right, Bosun, I checked his credentials and I was proud of him. Young, and he's done so well for himself in the area of ICT, which of course is the future of life and living. So there should have been more of those guys in the crowd, but we have very few of them, and that's my challenge.
So do you think that this was a matter of the president trying to balance compensation as against having this number of technocrats that you are mentioning? Because there are those who have said these persons perhaps were just being compensated for their contribution to the emergence or the victory of the party.
Election. Yeah. In politics, or let me say in democracy, we can't rule that out. If I slave for you, I labor for you, deploy my resources, my time and energy to get you elected, it's only fair, depending on my level in the strata, that I get compensated. It's not a new thing. It's not a Nigerian thing. It's a global practice. But at the same time, performance and results should not be sacrificed at the altar of compensation. And that's what I'm trying to explain.
But this is a controversial point. Even though your points are well noted, because on the other hand, the presidency and people who agree with the president's inclusion of these persons have said, for anyone to expect technocrats to come from outside political space, every such persons are deceiving themselves, because look at the pedigree of these presidents, even Malam El-Rufai. Look at the pedigree of all of them when they were reeling out their qualifications. They can, in that argument now be termed technocrats, even though now they are known as politicians. So, that is a controversy that may never end.
Yeah, I understand. I have nothing against anybody being so appointed. Just like if I get appointed, I won't expect you to raise an eyebrow. I am as competent as any other person. You must give the president this, you cut a slack for him. He has to work with those he knows. He has to work with those who will not sabotage him. We should go and just pick people or people he doesn't know or he's not familiar with, and they get into office and they start working against him. At the end of the day, he will carry the can. There, because we voted for him, not the minister. So these things must be balanced. But at the same time, we must be made comfortable, we the voters. Why? Because from the day he was sworn in, he began to write his report card. And when the next election will come, we will not be asking him what his ministers did, what his government delivered. That's why I said it should be balanced.
Right. Very critical, because there's the aspect of putting square pegs in square holes. Right, because the process for the screening was this person's did not come with, or the nomination did not come with portfolios as it is. What are you looking forward to with regards to the assigning of portfolios to these persons?
Right. Missing at the screening was the opportunity to evaluate the nominees, asking them specific questions that relate to the office they may be holding. Assuming, for instance, the man who will end up being finance minister already knew that he would be going into that seat, and then they now ask him questions on the national economy. It would have been a chance for him to either market himself successfully or demarket himself. And that will give people at home a lot of comfort. Because if he is able to elucidate points that will give us hope that, oh, this man knows what he's saying, okay? But this is one whereby you don't know who is going to occupy which office. Makes it worrisome. Yeah. We've had cases where a lawyer was made a health minister, and you were here when Aregbe became Minister of Internal Affairs, and he came up and said he knew nothing about Internal Affairs. At the end of the day, is that ministry any better? No. And there's so many agencies under the ministries. The directing mind must naturally impact on their performance. And these are the challenges. So I would have preferred they were sent in there with specific portfolios attached to them.
Now that we didn't have that,
what can we do? Some will say, go and pray. I've stopped that pray thing. We just can be expectant. And if things don't go the way we want, we talk. Okay? That's the beauty of democracy. You are free to express your opinion. Perhaps those who wrote petitions, they were expressing their opinions. And they got what they wanted. So far, anyway, until something happened to the contrary.
Because there are those who are saying that perhaps the president should give them job descriptions like we have in organizations, and then have periodic appraisals of their performance.
It's just like when you apply to work here, you apply for a specific office, and you were interviewed. Questions were asked along that route to establish your competence and capability. And if you didn't satisfy those who interviewed you, I'm sure you will not be here. So the same way, workers get to fill what they call annual performance evaluation report upper form. They fill those forms to see, oh, are you giving value for money? Do you deserve to even be here in the first place? So we expect periodic reports. The last 8 years that people just, with all my education, exposure and everything, I could barely mention 8 ministers because they were not doing anything. I mean, so we shouldn't have the same experience this time around. Good enough that the mad helm of affairs is a media person. He's not an enemy of the media. To that extent, he will listen to us. We will continue talking. Okay? Because they are our staff. We employ them. They are our employees, whether they like it or not. So they are determining our fate, and we must have a say in how they do that. We want the best, and we want what I always call the irreducible minimum.
Right.
We can't keep quiet.
And looking at the conduct of, the Senate, we also saw, will you call it an assertive Senate in its engagement with Mr. Keyamo, a ministerial nominee. Also with Bosun Tijani too, we also saw, the Senate also, put in the spotlight. Was this a vendetta mission, or was it the Senate trying to assert itself? And how you think this will affect relations between ministers and the National Assembly in the future?
You see, you can't be everybody's friend. And as a senator, you have a job to do. People are watching you at home. If you are needlessly pliable, I mean, like the one who was defending the young man, who said, who by his credentials was supposed to have finished primary 6 at age 3. One of them got up and said, yes, he was just like that. He was very brilliant. And that he sat for national common entrance in primary 3. I wonder where he came from. And he said he won. Was it a contest? He sat for an exam. He either could have failed or passed. That was needless drama. Those things were evaluated on 3 platforms. That was the good, the bad, and the ugly. The one I call the ugly in Yoruba, they call it Koda Kusumo. I don't know how I can interpret that. Koda Kusumo. You understand me? Like when the president of the Senate, there was a woman that came in and she started reading her CV from the point of her father, right? She was trying to market herself. I don't think it was wrong. But what happened? He told the woman, you are not addressing the United Nations Assembly. I didn't find it funny. The woman lost her composure. She was made uncomfortable. That wasn't necessary. They brought in so much drama that people could not see the seriousness. But at the end of the day, I still think for people like Keyamo who were grilled, for people like Alaki, people like Wale Edun, and a few other people like that, you could say they did a good job. But in all, nobody is perfect. We're not God. So anyhow it comes, let's just end this drama and move forward from there so we can see action. Nigerians are waiting. Right.
You mentioned earlier that you can barely mention 8 ministers from the previous administration.
Now, they've not been sworn in and already started mentioning names.
Right.
You understand?
So what would you say to these persons who have been given the opportunity to serve Nigerians at this point to perhaps write their name in gold?
The perquisites, the honor, the dignity, the respect that go with the office are not the only reason why they are appointed. Service delivery is also very critical. You don't just go around parading yourself as minister without delivering value, not just to your constituency now. The entire Nigeria is your constituency. We must feel your impact. The Greek man that was there, people were being killed on their farms. Okay, he had nothing to offer as solution. That wasn't right. We're not going to be having that this time around. As I said, the head of government this time around is a media-friendly personality. He listens to the media. So anywhere that we find any minister wanting, there won't be waiting time. We'll start talking from the moment they are sworn in. And as you recommended, we will insist on evaluation, periodic evaluation, maybe quarterly, maybe every 6 months, or annually. So whoever is found wanting should be eased out. Things are not where they should be. And we want people who wants to work for us, if possible, 48 hours in a day. Not slackers. And that's it.
We have 24 hours.
No, but just to let you understand,
understand.
the seriousness of it. Yes.
Yeah.
How critical it is.
Absolutely. We'll leave this conversation here now. Public Affairs Analyst Danladi. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.